Hello, good evening. I'm Erin Selby. I'm the Director of Education and Training at your union, UFCW Local 832. Thank you for joining us. This webinar is to give you a better sense of the union that you're a part of. Maybe you're a brand new member, or maybe you're someone who's been around for a little while, but you're not really sure what your union does for you. That's what we're going to talk about tonight. So let me just tell you a little bit about how this is going to work. So first of all, we do have a couple of house rules. You might have noticed if you've done a webinar before, there's no chat feature on this one, but if you go down to the bottom of your screen, or if you're on your phone, if you touch it, some icons will come up. And you can see one at the bottom that says Q&A, and it's got the little text box. That's how you're going to be able to ask us a question. So type your questions in there, and there is a time for us to answer some questions. I'll tell you right now, we probably won't get to that many. So don't feel bad if we don't ask your question. We're going to keep track of them, and we will get your rep to call you back if there's something that they need to answer. Bear with us because it might take a little bit of time for us to get back to you, because if your question isn't used during the show, we have to sort of go back and find it. But we will get back to you at some point if you don't hear your question. When you're forming your question, please try to think of general things that would apply for everybody. I don't want to hear too specific about your workplace or something that happened just to you, because we don't have a lot of time, so we're going to try to keep it general. But if you are having a particular problem at your workplace, we're going to be telling you how to deal with that as well. And the last bit is I think you folks know that there is a gift card for attending tonight to thank you for being part of it. You have to attend the entire presentation in order to qualify, and we have ways to check that. So we will be checking up on who has been here for the whole time, and that is how you will earn your gift card, and it will come straight to you. You don't have to worry about looking for it. Here's what tonight looks like. This is our agenda. This is the welcome. Right after this, we're going to have a chance for you to meet our 832 leadership, our president and our secretary treasurer. After that, we're going to talk about the 832 advantage. If you're new to unions, you might not know that there is some really good advantages to being with a union, and we're going to talk about workplaces that are unionized versus ones that aren't. We're also going to give you an introduction to some of the roles that people play around our union. We'll let you meet one of the union reps, and he'll tell you what they do. We're going to let you talk to one of the negotiators. Well, I guess you won't talk to them. He'll talk to you and learn what a negotiator does. After that, we're going to have some time for those questions and answers. We do want to stick till 8 o'clock. I'm not going to make you guys stay any later than that. So we probably won't have tons of time for questions. So keep that in mind. After that, I'm going to tell you what I do as the education director. And we should have time for just a couple of more questions after that, and a few things that we want to leave you with for the rest of the agenda. So with that, it is now time for me to introduce to you our leadership. Joining me tonight is Jeff Traeger, who is the president of UFCW Local 832, and Marie Buchan, who is the brand new secretary treasurer of our union. And I'm going to turn it over to them, and they can introduce themselves and tell you a little bit about their roles.
All right, good evening, everyone, and thank you all for joining us on tonight's webinar. Hopefully, by the end of tonight, we'll be able to answer that question, what is your union do for you? And you'll get a chance to get to know us a little bit better. So my name is Jeff Traeger. As Erin said, I'm the president of UFCW Local 832. And I started my career as a UFCW member, not unlike all of you. I started working at a unit called Circa Food Service, and it's a warehouse in the southern part of Winnipeg. And it's now today Cisco Foods. I started there in 1994, and I became a shop steward a couple of years later in 96. I went on to become a health and safety captain. I sat on the local negotiating committee, and finally did get an opportunity to do some relief work here at the local, and got hired on in 1997. I started as a casual relief rep. I was hired full-time in 98. I have been a servicing rep at this local. I have been a negotiator at this local. I have been the secretary treasurer. And in 2011, when Robert Ziegler retired, I became the president, and I have been the president for the last 10 years. So what does the president of Local 832 do? Well, I'm responsible for running all of the day-to-day operations of the local, along with our secretary treasurer. And I'm just going to show you a little bit of kind of the organizational flow chart for the union. So you can see that there's myself who oversees Local 832, along with the help of the Secretary Treasurer, Marie Buchan. And we have just announced that Ron Allard will be becoming an executive assistant to the president very soon. And that makes up the current leadership team at the local. We have an executive board that is made up of members like you. There are 18 members who are the decision-making body for the local, and along with myself and Marie, make up the executive board for the local union. We have 13 full-time union representatives who enforce the collective agreement and deal with issues in your workplaces, filing grievances when necessary. And then we have 12 additional support staff that help to support all of the folks working as union representatives, negotiators, lawyers, and people working in our communications department. We also have a different set of organizational flow chart for the training center. Maybe Aaron will get an opportunity to tell you a little bit about that later. As president, I personally negotiate 65% of our members' contracts. So I negotiate contracts for Safeway and for Loblaw, which is the real Canadian superstore, no frills and extra foods. I also negotiate the Maple Leaf contract in Brandon and the Maple Leaf contract in Winnipeg, both of which we just finished over the last little while. I'm a trustee on all of the health and welfare benefit plans for UFCW members, with the exception of one, and that would be the Highlight Plan for People, where Marie is the trustee on that one. As I said before, we sit on the executive board, and those positions, the 18 elected members that you see there, the Secretary, Treasurer, and the President, are up for election every 4 years, and we're currently in that election cycle right now. President is also the sole spokesperson for the media, unless I ask Marie to cover that for me when I'm away or when I'm unavailable to do a media interview. Otherwise, many of you may have already seen me in the media over the past year and a half. We've been getting quite a bit of that because of the impact of COVID-19 on all of our members. I am also responsible for establishing and amending and enforcing all the policies that the union has, along with the guidance of the Secretary Treasurer and the Executive Board. And I oversee all of the departments, again, along with the Secretary Treasurer. And those departments are our servicing department, which is all of our servicing representatives and people who support them. We have 3 full-time negotiators working in the negotiations department, and then about 4 other people who also do some negotiations for the local, including myself and Marie. We have our education department, which is run by Aaron Selby and oversees 2 training centers, one in Winnipeg and one in Brandon. We also have offices in Winnipeg and Brandon and in Manitoba as well. And I hear all of the grievance appeals. So if a member doesn't like the way their grievance is going, or they don't believe the union has made the right decision, they can appeal that to me. And then finally, they can also appeal it to our executive board. I represent Manitoba on the UFCW Canada National Executive Board based in Toronto, Ontario. And I am an international vice president on the international board. And I'll explain a little bit more about the structure of UFCW later, but that international executive board is based in Washington, D.C. And finally, as part of the larger labor movement here in Manitoba, I am the Secretary Treasurer of the Manitoba Federation of Labor, which is an organization comprised of all of the affiliates and the major unions in Manitoba. So I'm going to actually, that is the position and the role of the president. And I think it's important that you understand also the position and the role of our Secretary Treasurer, who is our Chief Financial Officer. So I'm going to turn it over now to your Secretary Treasurer, Marie Buchan.
Thanks, Jeff. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for taking the time out of your personal schedules to join us and learn more about the union and all of us that work for Local 832. I first became a UFCW Local 832 member in 1993 when I worked at Safeway during high school and university. I decided that I wanted to become a nurse. And as I was going to university, I also started working at St. Boniface Hospital as a healthcare aide and rehab assistant. It was during my time at St. Boniface Hospital that I got involved in the union. I had a coworker who came up to me one day and said, "You should be a shop steward." And I looked at them rather confused and said, "Well, what is that?" They said, "It's someone who you can talk to and who you can talk to management and deal with issues or concerns that come up." I thought, hey, that's something that I can do. So once I became a shop steward, I learned more about what UFCW Local 832 had to offer and the various ways I could get involved. I participated in the youth internship program with UFCW Canada. I applied and received a scholarship just for being a UFCW member. And I joined the local's youth committee and eventually was elected to the Local 832 executive board. I was then asked to be a relief union representative for the local. 3 months later, on March 17th, 2013, I was hired on as a full-time union representative. During my almost 20-year career with the local, I've been a full-time servicing representative, the director of servicing, a full-time negotiator, executive assistant to the president, director of operations, interim secretary treasurer, and I'm now secretary treasurer for the local. So what does a secretary treasurer do? When people first hear that, they really aren't sure what I do. I get some funny looks. Some people think I'm a secretary and I added a fancy title. Other people just give me another funny look and ask me to explain. So as secretary treasurer, I'm responsible for all financial operations of the local, including payroll, dues remittance, year-end financial statements, and all bank accounts. I establish and constantly review the annual budget and work directly with the accounting department to ensure the local's finances are sound and that each department is operating within the budget guidelines. I'm responsible for delivering budget reports to staff at our executive board meetings and at our general membership meetings. I'm the primary contact with bank institutions, audit firms, and the executive board audit committee. I'm responsible for all financial matters related to the organization and corporations that run our properties. I negotiate collective agreements with employers who have a large number of members and sit as second chair with the president on all major negotiations. I act as the primary advisor to the president on all matters related to the staff, policies, media, and communications. I also sit as a trustee on all jointly trusteed benefit plans where the local has a seat on the board of trustees. I provide backup for the president for all his duties when he's away from the office for any reason, and then all other duties is assigned by the president. It's also really important to stay connected and build relationships outside of UFCW Local 832. So I also currently sit as a member of the board of directors for Manitoba Blue Cross. I sit as an employee representative at the Manitoba Labor Board, and I sit on the Manitoba Federation of Labor Executive Council. Personally, I live in Sanford, Manitoba, just outside of Winnipeg with my husband, Scott, and our big puppy, Dexter. And in my spare time, I enjoy getting out on our boat that we just recently purchased, golfing and spending time with family and friends. So now that you've learned a little bit about me, I'm going to pass it back to Jeff, who's going to speak to all of you about our union structure and the various labor networks we belong to.
Thank you very much, Marie, and thank you for your presentation. When I talked earlier about being on the International Executive Board, when you joined UFCW, you joined an international union based out of Washington, D.C. with a Canadian operation based out of Toronto. And there are a total of 1.3 million UFCW members in North America, 250,000 of those in Canada. UFCW Local 832 is a little bit unique in that we are the only local union in Manitoba. So we represent all UFCW members in the province, no matter where they work. And that is rather unique. And it's unique because there are as many as 20 or 30 locals in some US states and as many as 5 or 10 locals in some Canadian provinces. So the fact that we are a single local and represents all of the UFCW members in the entire province is something special. I am going to let you know that we represent approximately, well, just under 20,000 members, and they work at a whole variety of different workplaces in a variety of different industries. This is just a smattering of about 30 of the 134 employers that we represent. We represent workers in retail grocery stores, in food and meat production, in security, warehousing, assisted living, in hospitality, in bottling, and many, many, many more. But at UFCW, we also know that standing and working with others makes us stronger than we could ever be alone. That's why we're proud members of central labor bodies that oversee much larger groups of union members, like the Canadian Labour Congress, that represents more than 3 million Canadian workers. And each province under the Labour Congress has a federation of labor that's affiliated to the Labour Congress. And here in Manitoba, that's the Manitoba Federation of Labor. And they represent about 115,000 working Manitobans right now. I'm the Secretary Treasurer. Marie is on Executive Council, and one of our negotiators, Blake Carruthers, also sits as an Executive Council member. Each major city or geographical region has a smaller labor council that just represents workers from various unions that work within their city or their region. And there are district labor councils right here in Winnipeg, in Brandon, in Flin Flon, Napaw, Dauphin, Selkirk, and many, many more. And UFCW is proud to stand with all of the other unions at labor councils, at the Federation, or at the Canadian Labour Congress, so that we can achieve much more together than any one of us could on our own. So that is the connections to the labor movement and the structure of UFCW. So Erin, I will turn it back to you to keep us on the agenda.
Thank you so much, Jeff. I'm going to be turning it back to Marie right now. I told you earlier we were going to give you some examples of why it's advantageous to be in a union and what you get when you're in a union as compared to a non-union workplace. So Marie, I'm going to turn it over to you to talk about the 832 advantage.
Perfect. Thanks, Erin. So what is the 832 advantage? As a member of a union, you're part of a strong collection of hardworking Manitobans. Being an active member of UFCW Local 832 gives you a voice in the workplace. Your contract negotiations. This is an agreement between the union and your employer outlining all of your rights in the workplace. UFCW Local 832 has full-time negotiators whose sole job is to negotiate the best collective agreements for our members. Negotiators also make sure that changes are negotiated rather than imposed. Higher wages. One of the top benefits of being a union member is that you enjoy better benefits as compared to non-union employees. Members of a union are also more likely to enjoy consistent pay raises on a regular basis. With a non-union job, the employer can set the wages without any formal bargaining process or input from the employees. Support. One other key benefit of being a member of UFCW is that a union representative will work with you should you have any issues with the employer. UFCW advocates each and every day for their members on a variety of issues, such as disciplines, human rights issues, medical accommodations, and health and safety issues, just to name a few. Think of your union membership like your employment insurance. Just like you have insurance for your car, your house, your apartment, your union membership is your employment insurance. A voice. UFCW is your voice at the workplace. This is not just a catchy slogan we have up on our walls or put on our letterhead. This is a commitment that all staff at Local 832 make each and every day. Our structure is unique to all other unions in that all of our union reps and specialists work full-time for UFCW Local 832. This allows each of us to focus and dedicate our time to your workplace and the issues that arise. We have a full-time servicing representatives, full-time negotiators, legal counsel, and dedicated leadership, all working for you at the local. Benefits. Along with higher wages, UFCW members have access to health and welfare benefits, paid vacation, paid breaks, retirement benefits such as pensions, RSPs, etc., and a variety of other benefits that are negotiated within your collective agreements. A lot of members who are new to the union are not sure what benefits they have. We can help you with that. All you need to do is ask. As a member of UFCW Local 832, we also have a member discount program. We are currently in the process of adding more businesses to it and doing a relaunch in January of 2022, but we still do have a lot of discounts that you can tap into simply by being a UFCW member. You just have to go to our website, ufcw832.com, Go under member resources and then member discounts for a full listing. These are just a few examples of the UFCW Local 832 advantage. I often hear from members, so what does the union do for me? I hope I've given you a few answers to this question. As important as this question is, it's equally important to ask yourself and other union members, what can I do for my union? You can get involved, participate in meetings, provide feedback, give us proposals, and vote on your next contract. Get involved. UFCW and all other unions are only as strong as their membership. As a member, you cannot rely on the union rep or negotiator to do everything. We will do a lot of the heavy lifting, but we need to ensure that all of you as members are there to spot and support us along the way. This does not mean we'll always agree on everything and will not always get everything that we want. It does mean that ultimately we will achieve more and have better outcomes as a result. So I'm now going to turn it back to Aaron, who's going to show everyone a video.
My family is my world. I want to provide them better future. I need a living wage.
I want to get the opportunity to grow and get back to the school.
I want to know that I'm not alone when I have a problem.
I want benefits and maybe even a pension when I retire.
I want to stay safe on a job.
I am with UFCW. I have all of these things. You can have them too.
Join us.
Join us.
Join us.
Did the faux pas of not turning on my microphone, the thing I always lecture everybody else about. Thank you, Jeff and Marie, for your presentations. And I am going to now bring in Ron, who is one of our union reps. There's still talking happening in the background, isn't there?
Spirit name comes with the Northern Lights.
There we go. I think we've got it under control now. There's always going to be some technical glitches every time we do a webinar. You probably, if you're new, have heard us talk about union reps. It's short for representative. You may even see their posters in your workplace, but not really sure who this person is or what they do. So I'm going to turn it over to Ron, who's been a union rep for a couple of years anyways, Ron. So why don't you give everybody an idea of what it is that you do?
All right, thanks a lot, Aaron. Good evening, everyone. Currently, I'm a full-time union representative for UFCW Local 832. I've been a servicing representative in a variety of territories with the local for over 17 years. As of September 6, 2021, I am very excited to let everyone know that I will be moving into a new role with the local, as Jeff has said. I have been promoted to executive advisor to the president, and I'll be looking after servicing, organizing, and member engagement. Some of you may be wondering, what does a union rep do? In my role as your union rep, it is my responsibility to represent you in your workplace and assist you with employment matters involving your collective agreement, such as working conditions, hours of work, seniority, wages, and benefits, just to name a few. When an issue comes up, it's my job to do a complete investigation in order to be able to move the issue forward. Whether it is a complaint, grievance, arbitration, or anything in between, the process is still the same. It's my job to make sure I look at the issue from every angle. Sometimes the outcome is good and sometimes not, but it's my job to make sure I provide you with a complete explanation of the investigation. One of the hardest parts of my job is when I have to tell a member there is no violation of the collective agreement. That means we may not be able to move the complaint forward. This does not always go well, but I've learned that if you take the time to explain the situation from all angles and be honest, you, the member, has a better understanding of why the union cannot proceed. I also work closely with the full-time union negotiator when it comes to negotiating your collective agreement. Why is this important? Every month I am in your workplaces visiting you, the members. During this time, concerns are always raised on what could make the workplace better. At UFCW Local 832, we don't wait for you to call us about a concern. We come to you. This is why we are in the workplaces as often as we are. We listen to what all of you have to say and communicate with the negotiator on the concerns brought forward to be addressed in the next round of negotiations. In addition to being in your workplaces monthly to meet with the members, I attend JLM meetings, grievance meetings, and health and safety meetings when requested. All of this is done while maintaining the daily emails, multiple phone calls during the day, evening, and sometimes during the night, depending on the workplace and the shift. This does not stop on holidays, weekends, etc. Our members work a variety of shifts, and we need to make sure we are there for them when they need us most. In your workplace, you will or have already met your shop steward and health and safety committee members. These members volunteer to be the union's eyes and ears in your workplace and would let your union representative know what is happening. These stewards and health and safety committee members may also assist in other things, such as getting griever statements, updating addresses, and attending meetings that I spoke about earlier. It is extremely important that you as a union member get involved and not just leave it up to your union rep or shop steward or health and safety committee. We need your help too. In order for us to be a strong union, it has been said before, but worth repeating, we need all of our members to stand up to ensure that your rights under your collective agreement are being followed. UFCW Local 832 is your voice at work, but we need to hear from you in order to succeed. Thanks a lot. Thank you, Aaron. Any questions? Feel free.
Congratulations, you're a UFCW Local 832 shop steward. So now what do? First of all, just relax. No one expects you to know everything your first day. Your job is to make your workplace better for you and the people you work with. As a steward, you're the link between your union and your members. You'll tell your union what's going on in your workplace, and you'll tell your members your union's news. You'll probably also help with collective bargaining, grievances, and disciplinary meetings. But don't worry about that right now. You'll get training on what that means and plenty of help from your union rep. UFCW 832 shop stewards have an important job representing our union. There are labor laws to protect your role as a steward and language in your collective agreement that helps you do your job. You were elected as a steward because people know you can do it. But don't be shy to ask for help, because that's what your union is here for. Now get out there and fight for fairness. UFCW 832, your voice at work. Thank you, Ron. As Ron said, there will be some time for some questions coming up, so just remember to put them in the Q&A at the bottom. And again, we won't get to all of them. And if we don't get to your question tonight, we're definitely going to have your union rep follow up with you. The other thing that we heard earlier from Jeff and from Marie is how important negotiation is. So we're going to turn it over now to Joe Carrera, who is one of our negotiators, to give you a little bit of idea of what that looks like. Joe, take it away.
Thank you, Aaron. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to take this opportunity to welcome you all to our first welcome webinar. I am personally looking forward to working with you all at some point in the future in either negotiating your first collective agreement or renegotiating the one you are currently working under. My name is Joe Carrera. I am one of the 3 full-time negotiators on staff with your union. In my role as a lead negotiator for the union, I am responsible for preparing the positions that we will be taking into negotiations, leading the negotiation process, ensuring communication with you, the membership, and ultimately bringing the best deal possible to the membership to vote on. The negotiation process, as I see it, comes down to the following 7 steps. 1, preparing for the next round of negotiations. Throughout the term of your current agreement, your negotiator will work with your full-time union representative to confirm what in your current collective agreement is working well. If there is something that is not working and issues that come up that the collective agreement does not reference or deal with. Based on these findings, we can usually come up with preliminary proposals that we need to bring forward in our next round of bargaining. 2, notifying the employer to start negotiations. Approximately 90 days prior to your collective agreement expiring, we will send the employer an official letter stating that it is our intention to start the negotiation process on a new collective agreement. And at that point, at the same time, asking your employer for current employee information, what benefits the employer currently provides, the cost of those benefits, and other relevant information needed for the preparation of our proposals. 3, getting proposals from the membership. This step This step is one of, if not the most important step of the negotiation process. How do we do this? It could be a survey, telephone town hall, one or more in-person meetings, or all of the above. Whatever it takes to ensure that everyone has the opportunity to attend and be heard. So why is this so important? Because you, the members, tell us what is good in your collective agreement and is important that we ensure to maintain. Sometimes if things are good for the membership, the employer may be coming into the negotiations with a proposal to remove it. So we need to be prepared for that. As equally important is what is not working and why. You are the experts in your workplace. So we will be counting on you to tell us what we need to change and why. Taking a proposal to the bargaining table with a good understanding of it and examples of why it is important will assist in helping us achieve it. 4, forming the bargaining committee. The union will need to select the bargaining committee. Based on the workplace and past practice within the workplace, the bargaining committee may be either appointed from your current pool of shop stewards, past negotiating committee members, or nominations will be taken and votes held to elect which of your coworkers will represent you at the negotiating table. Being a part of the negotiating committee is a great way to get involved, have a say in the direction negotiations go, and assist the negotiator in bringing back a recommended tentative deal to your workplace to vote on. Now, you may be thinking if you're a new member to the union, that it would be too soon for you to be involved in this manner. It isn't. Sometimes fresh eyes see things that others who have been there longer don't, and have ideas that others may not think about. If you are interested, volunteer and get yourself nominated. Our training center runs an excellent negotiations course. We will ensure that you are ready to be there. As I said earlier, the lead negotiator will do most of the talking at the table. You may be called upon to add content to a discussion, but you will be prepared for that, as we would have discussed it in our caucus meeting first. The major part of your role as a bargaining committee member is representing all of the workers in your workplace, taking notes to assist with our discussion in our caucus meetings, and the knowledge of your workplace that you bring. 5, putting the union proposal package together. All of the information that we collect from the members, the union rep, and the work we have done as a negotiating committee is compiled, and we will present that to the employer on our first day of negotiations. Again, it is so important that you participate in the proposal process, because once we start negotiations, we cannot introduce new proposals, no matter how great they are. 6, starting the negotiations with the employer. We are now ready to meet with the employer. At the first meeting, both the employer and the union will present their list of proposals. Going forward, we start the process of having discussions back and forth, trying to obtain agreement on all of the proposals from both sides. This is a process that can vary in length, depending on how many proposals both sides bring to the table. This can also get very frustrating at times, because even the best proposals that make total sense don't always get agreed to by the employer. 7, bring the deal back to the membership to vote on. Once we have worked through all the proposals and a tentative agreement is reached, it is time to bring the agreement back to you, the membership. The union will prepare what is referred to as a ratification document. This document will include all of the changes to the language in your collective agreement and any monetary changes such as wages, benefits, retirement/pension plans. Usually this information is presented to you at a ratification meeting, and a vote on whether to accept or decline the new agreement is held at that same meeting. I say usually because due to COVID-19 restrictions, we have had to change the ways that we are presenting and ratifying agreements. We are using other methods such as sending out ratification documents and voting ballots through the mail, and utilizing either virtual meetings or telephone town halls to explain, discuss, and give members the opportunity to ask questions on the changes prior to casting their ballots. The ballots will be counted once the meeting is over or the voting period has ended. And if the count for or against is 50+1, that is your final result. So if the membership votes in favor of the agreement, you would now have a new collective agreement effective immediately. If the vote goes against, then we would have to approach the employer and try to continue negotiations. That is a very general overview of the negotiations process. I should add that in cases where the agreement is rejected and we do have to go back to the employer does not have to agree to continue to negotiate. There's a multitude of things that could happen from there. The employer could lock out the workforce. We could, as a membership, go on strike. We could apply to have a mediator assist us with coming to an agreement to bring back to the membership to vote on again, or have an arbitrator decide on the terms of your next collective agreement. There is a lot of details that go with all of these options that I could take a whole hour going over with you, but I won't. If and when those options become necessary, I can guarantee you that your union will fully explain those options at the time and ensure that you are able to make an informed decision at that time. I would like to end by again stressing how important it is that you get involved with your union and the negotiations process, and also encourage your coworkers to get involved. Your union is as strong as you want it to be. Your collective agreement will best represent what you want in your workplace with your involvement. Together, we are the voice at work in Manitoba. Thank you all for participating. We now have a video to show you to review the bargaining process.
Better contracts, better hours, better pay, better benefits, better jobs. Your union is working to make your life better by bargaining for a better deal, and you're part of it. Welcome to the UFCW 832 Bargaining Committee, and thank you. It's a big job, but you're not alone. Got questions? Feeling nervous? It's okay. Take a deep breath. We are a team, and by working together, we achieve more. That's the power of our union. There's lots of ways you can contribute. To get ready, you'll talk to your colleagues, find out what's working and what needs to be fixed. What you hear will help us create our bargaining strategy. And that's not all. Together, we will go to the bargaining table, sitting across from the employer, listening to the employer's offer and allowing our chief negotiator to respond, taking notes, keeping our game faces on. And when the employer leaves the room, we will discuss everything as a team. It's your contract, and your voice is essential. Together, we represent all UFCW members, and by bargaining together, we can make work better for everyone.
So it sounds like we had a little technical glitch in that one as well. I hope you were able to understand the video, even if you couldn't see all of it. We're learning on the job here too, folks. We do have some time for questions right now, not a whole lot of time, but I will ask our folks who are joining us as panelists tonight to come back to us for a moment. And I'm going to direct the first question at Jeff. It's an excellent one because, frankly, I don't know the answer to it either. Jeff, Robert is wondering, where did the 832 come from? Why are we UFCW 832?
Well, you know, I wish I had a very exciting answer, very insightful, but I don't. It's actually a boring answer. When a local is formed, they actually can do one of two things. They can apply to the International Union to assign a number to them, which is how we got the 832. Way back in the 30s, when we first started, we were assigned, at the time, it was Manitoba Food and Commercial Workers, Local 832, and that number was just assigned by the International. Today, many unions do a lot more interesting things and request and have been granted occasionally a number from the International, such as the beer store local in Ontario is local 12R24. Because you can buy a 12 or you can buy a 24. So that's what the beer store local did. And a local in BC wanted to let their members know that they were available to them 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and that's local 247. So there are some locals that in modern times have asked for very specific numbers, but 832, unfortunately, we've been around so long, we just got it the old fashioned.
I think we're going to have to make up a better story than that for our next welcome webinar, Jeff. We'll work on something that's more exciting. Marie, I have one that I'm hoping that you can answer from Rajinda, asking if it's possible for union reps to visit the sites, maybe even just once a year, whatever is feasible for them. Because Rajinda makes a really good point that would probably help build relationships and a better understanding of what it is that we do.
Absolutely. That's a great question. Thank you, Erin. One of the things and Ron touched on it about how we go out into the workplaces and we're there to meet our members and ask questions. With our security sector, we have hundreds and hundreds of various sites where our security guards work. So our security guards are working in a lot of different workplaces. So it's really difficult for the servicing rep to try and get around to everyone. We actually had an initiative that was started last year, our security servicing initiative, where we're actually booking off some members and shop stewards to come out and actually go service and meet with the members. So that will be happening. Unfortunately, COVID hit and we got sidelined from being able to visit a lot of our sites. But I will tell you, and I know there's some other security guards on the call, I can see that this is something that Sandy Forcier, our servicing rep for security guard, as well as Blake Crothers, our negotiator for the security sector, and Loreto Gutierrez, who's our organizer and member engagement, are working really hard to get up and running. And I know they've started with some meetings and everything. So we will definitely make sure that we are out and about visiting people. And Rajinder, I will make sure that I pass on your name to Sandy and see if we can get a visit out to you or a phone call to you as quickly as we can.
Thank you, Marie. I think all of us are missing seeing our members, whether it's for me coming into the training center when we don't have people coming in anymore, or going and visiting people in the work sites, but it's one of our favorite things. Ron, we have a question that you might be able to help us with. We have somebody asking, are you able to help me if my boss is picking on me?
Absolutely. The best thing to do is make a statement, keep a diary of what's happening. It's not always the very first time that your boss says or does something. It's really critical to mark down the date, time, who's around, because it helps us, investigate the facts and that, someone else has heard it. It usually, you have a couple events that trigger, because it does help us build that there's a pattern in the workplace. And then obviously, we would file a grievance on your behalf and take it from there.
Thank you, Ron. We have time for one more question from what I can see. And Joe, I think this is one that you could probably help us with. A member is asking, what happens if my workplace votes to go on strike, but I don't want to?
Good question. It's a question that we get. We don't get a lot of strikes, but it's a question that comes up when we do have a strike at a workplace. If the workplace does decide to go on strike, that would have been voted on as a group within your workplace. And just like voting for a new collective agreement, majority rules. I do understand there's always, there could be personal issues, financial. I guess the best way I can answer that is if we go out united and strong, hopefully right from the start, we can get the employer to come back to the table, deal with us, and get a fair deal for the whole membership quickly. So, it is important that we all go out together and support each other.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you very much. We don't have time for more questions right now because I want to tell you a little bit about what it is that we do at the training center. So let me just share my screen and give you some idea of the kind of stuff that you see happening. So what is the UFC Training Center and what is it that we do? We do a lot of things. For one thing, we try to service the entire province wherever we have members, and we have members pretty much everywhere in Manitoba. We do have a training center in Winnipeg and we have one in Brandon, but we also go to members or bring them to our training centers, whatever is needed. So I wanted to share with you what the mission statement is, and this was developed by the facilitators at the training center. The UFCW Training Center empowers our members through education so that they can meet their full potential, find their voices, and recognize the influence that they have in their workplace, community, and across the province. We're a lot of people, so we actually have a lot of influence if we speak together as one voice. Here's some of the things that we do. We have English as Additional Languages, or ESL. We do that in Winnipeg and in Brandon. We have a mature student diploma program. So in Winnipeg, you can actually come to the training center and to get grade 12 from our teachers. If you're outside of Winnipeg, if you're in Brandon or anywhere in Manitoba, and you want to go back to school and get an adult high school diploma or just a couple of credits, we will pay for you to be able to do that. You just have to let us know. We do career transition service. So what is that? That is if a workplace closes down, or if a lot of people get laid off, or even if you get fired and you need to find another job, we can help you with that. So we will help you find somebody to build a resume for you, show you your options on how to get employment insurance. We'll also help you with, is there training that you can do? All kinds of things to try to get you back on your feet should you find yourself, unfortunately, in that situation. One of the biggest things that we do at the training center is we train our shop stewards. You heard us talking about shop stewards earlier, and maybe some of you are a little bit interested, same with the health and safety committee members, but wondering, I don't know anything about it. How do I do this job? Don't worry, we have a full passport program. Our members can come, we pay you to take classes with us. You get a little stamp for every class in your passport, and you actually get to earn different levels. You get a gift card from that as well. We also have a lot of fun. You get to know other shop stewards. You get to talk to people from other local, not other locals, but other workplaces. And I think you'll find that it's actually, it's a pretty fun way to spend the day with us. We do a lot of general courses. Those ones we try to do whatever it is that you folks want. So we do have first aid and CPR. There is some fees for that one, but we have a subsidized program. So it's cheaper if you do it through us than if you were to do it, for instance, through Red Cross or somebody else. You'll get a better price with us. We also have some other courses that we're looking at doing. We've heard from our members that they want to know more about computer training, that they want to know more about how to use certain programs. And so that's the kind of thing that we're going to look at bringing in for members as well. We have another thing that we've just started doing, which is Ettf employer training. So the training center is a trust fund. Our members are not actually paying for the training center. It's our employers, not all of them, but a good chunk of our employers are paying for the trust fund. And sometimes we do some training with them. My dog is going to get a little upset right now. I hope that's not too distracting. We do some training with them in things like Maple Leaf and Brandon just recently asked us to help them do some respectful workplace training. So we spent some time doing that. We also have something called Web Campus. That's out of our national office in Toronto. It's an online, almost like a university or a college or a whole school in there. There are hundreds of courses at Web Campus. All you have to do is sign up for them. You or your member can take them for free. And in fact, you can even do university credits with that. We also do something called the SOFA series. It looks a little bit like this, but the last Wednesday of every month, we have a different topic. We bring in an expert. In June, we talk to our national elder about reconciliation and treaties. And every month we try to do something a bit different. At the end of this month, the last Wednesday in July, we're going to be talking about emergency preparedness and what you and your family can do to be ready for an emergency. I think the pandemic has kind of all got us thinking that maybe we need to be more prepared. And of course, we do this, we do the welcome webinar. So as I mentioned, we've got the activist training. That is something that is probably the biggest focus that what we do. And I've just brought this up so you can see what Web Campus looks like. Web Campus is out of the national, but it's all online and there are a lot of courses. Like, I mean, everything from better photography, flower arranging, but even butcher skills for people who are thinking they might want to work in one of our meat production plants. So I urge you to check it out. And you know what, if you check it out and you don't really love it, it doesn't matter. You can try it and then decide this isn't for me and then try a different course. There's no obligation at all with that. If you want to know more about us, all you have to do is check out our website at ufcwtraining.manitoba.ca, or if you go to UFCW 832, you are also going to see something for the training center in there, and you will be able to access from there as well. I have a little video that I want to show you just about some of the folks that come to our grade 12 program in Winnipeg.
Andrew, stand beside Ebenezer, and then Hannah will stand beside Oyolo. Jeanette, next.
I never thought things easy like this. I come here and contact with Anas. He gives to me a lot of information and make it easy to join the school. That's it.
It's grade 12 graduation day for Haptu Senshaw, Tamarat Mengista, and 28 adult learners at the UFCW Local 832 Training Center.
I ask you which one will have the highest ionization energy between sodium.
This unique program is free for members, their families, and anyone looking to get their high school diploma. The students come from different neighborhoods, different workplaces, and different home countries, but they all share one thing in common. They've all faced challenges getting to this day.
Since I was a union member, I receive every month's magazine, and always I just put somewhere. One day I just pick up and I read it and I see the opportunity of the institute, the high school, and I just call them and I talk to the director and I had appointment, and I never thought things easy like this.
Mengista came to Canada in 2008 from Kenya. Back home, he had a diploma in carpentry, but without proof, it isn't recognized here. He knew getting his grade 12 diploma was key to a better life in Canada.
Without high school diploma, it's difficult even to get job, even McDonald's.
Now for each element,
Senshaw encountered the same barriers to employment. 12. Eventually, he found work in Canada.
I'm working in security in the company what you call Securitas. Working in University of Winnipeg, a permanent guard.
Both men saw the ads in Union, UFCW Local 832's magazine, encouraging members to get their grade 12. Going to school while working as a security guard hasn't been easy.
Yeah, of course, yes, it's a challenge, survival is not easy.
But even juggling more than one job, as well as a family, Senshaw says he always felt supported in the classroom.
This place is wonderful, and the teachers are friendly, and they help a lot. They do a lot. Thank you. I just work hard, and now I'm ready to graduate. I'm very happy.
Shameless Mengista.
I just graduated high school. That's the big deal for me. But I'm really happy. Just I hold something in my hands, and I have a good future.
Senshaw says he feels more professional knowing he has a diploma, and his advice for anyone wanting to follow in his path?
Try it first, and then you decide. That's the only thing I recommend.
The future looks bright for both of these security guards.
It's very, very good opportunity, this adult high school, Union High School. It's very good opportunity. Just try. Everything is possible. I see a lot of futures in the next 10 years. That is actually my dreams, but I am trying to achieve a lot of things as soon as possible. Even I'm starting late, but I have a good future.
Get all of them?
Let's go.
No black box that time. You were able to see everything. We do have some time for questions right now. So let me just see. We had so many people wanting to ask questions. But again, as I said, if you don't get your question, if you don't hear from us tonight on your question, we are going to be able to answer that directly to you. Your rep will get in touch with you. Okay. I wanted to ask this one to Jeff, and it's something that you hear from a lot of people, particularly if they aren't unionized. Jeff, are you ever going to be able to get a pension for somebody who maybe is at one of our workplaces that doesn't have one? I know a lot of them do, but if they happen to be at a place that doesn't have a pension, or if they're new to the union, are there any chance that they could ever get a pension?
Yeah, a lot of our workplaces actually have pensions because of joining UFCW and because of the work done at the negotiations by negotiators. We actually have, in the last few years, brought pensions to probably 4 or 5 different workplaces. And A lot of them are in different formats. Some of those pensions have been what are called defined benefit pension plans. Some of them are money purchase, like an investment plan. And where we have difficulty getting an employer to agree to a pension plan, or if they legitimately can't afford one, we've been able to negotiate RRSP matching contributions so that you can have the employer actually contribute to your RRSPs that you would match from your wages, and that way you can get a little bit of a head start on your retirement plan. But absolutely, getting pensions is something that our negotiators make sure we're trying to do it in every agreement.
Thank you, Jeff. I think we have time for another question. Marie, I think this one is for you. Mark is wondering, other than the contract, is there any other info on unions? For example, is there a handbook? Is there some place that Mark can learn where you can explain more things?
Absolutely. There's a ton of resources. One spot where I'd suggest you get started, Mark, is definitely check out our website. When you first click onto the website, it doesn't look like there's a lot of information, but then there's little columns to the right-hand side up at the top, and you click on one of those and it's a wealth of information. You can also reach out to your union representative. We can provide some of our collective agreements. We have summaries for. There's information on the different affiliates that Jeff talked about, like with the MFL, the Manitoba Federation of Labor, the Winnipeg Labor Council, the Canadian Labor Congress. The list goes on and on and on. There's a wealth of information. Don't be afraid to reach out. Any one of us here at the union can help you out. You can feel free. Start off with your full-time union rep. And if you're not sure who that is, you can also go on our website at www.ufcw832.com. I know I'm not supposed to say the www anymore, but you can go on the website and you'll be able to find out who your union representative is, and they'll actually give you the email address and you can start there.
Thank you, Marie. I promised I'd get everybody out by 8 o'clock. We only have 3 minutes, but I want to do one quick question to Ron, and then Jeff is going to share something with us. But Ron, just be quickly, we have a few people asking, how do you become a shop steward?
That's a great question. The best way to become a shop steward is to be active in your workplace. Be vocal, but respectful. Also know your collective agreement. In a lot of places we have elections, so your peers will vote for the best candidate that they feel would represent them well in the workplace. And there's times that when we don't have any participation, we appoint. And those would be the qualities that I would look for if I'm appointing someone in the workplace.
Thank you, Ron. Again, with all of these things, if we didn't get to your question, you're going to hear from your rep, or if you think of another question after this, just get in touch with them. Jeff, I just want to turn it back to you, because another important part about what we do as a union is we advocate not just for our members, but also for societal changes in general, and for things that we think are important for both our members and people who are just regular working folks who might not be our members. So Jeff, I'm going to turn that over to you for a minute.
All right. I wanted to talk a little bit about a way that you could potentially get involved in helping to make our society a little bit better and help us to lobby against the government bill that's actually coming up, and we expect it's probably going to be passed in November. You'll hear it as Bill 16. I'm sure you've heard some of the nasty legislation that this government has put forward in the past. They pretty much ruined the civil service and pretty much ruined healthcare right going into a pandemic, which was great. And Bill 64, now they're planning on ruining the education system. But Bill 16 is a direct attack on workers, a direct attack on working people, their unions, and there's a variety of changes that they are proposing to Bill 16 that are really, really, really bad for UFCW members, really bad for working people. There's when a union goes out on strike or is locked out by their employer, currently in Manitoba, after 60 days, either party can apply to have the labor board, the Manitoba Labor Board, hear the complaint and assign a new contract. So that means that both parties going into bargaining know that a labor dispute can only last 2 months, and then somebody other than them will decide what's in their contract. Well, government wants to take this away, and nobody wants this. Employers don't want this, unions don't want this, and workers certainly don't want this, because over the last 10 years, Manitoba has lost less days to strikes and lockouts than any other province in Canada because of this legislation. But Pallister and his cronies are looking at taking this out as a way to get rid of fair and balanced legislation that works for both employers and unions, and tip the scales in favor of the employer, who can now make a strike last years if they want to. But that's not the only thing that Bill 16 does. Bill 16 makes it harder for workers that want to join a union to join one, makes it easier for unions to be decertified by a smaller number of workers. It makes it harder once a union does organize to get a first contract. It takes away technological change, which means if your employer is going to change the technology in your workplace that's going to cost you your job, they no longer have to give you 90 days notice or training. It takes away a bunch of other things too, like successor rights, and it will bury unions in financial reporting red tape to the government that no other nonprofit organization will have to face. So you can learn more about Bill 16 by going to our website. You can learn more about Bill 16 by going to the MFL website, and you can learn where you can register to speak in committee or send a letter to your MLA to complain about this bill and to do everything we can. And I know all of the staff at Local 832 are signed up to speak against this bill, because it's just not good for anybody, and it's proof that this government just doesn't like working people.
Thank you, Jeff. I guess we should have not ended on such a negative note. I just realized. I do want to end on a more positive note. I want to thank all our panelists for being here. Thank you for sharing all of your wisdom and experience with our members. And thank you to all of you for tuning in. Again, we will get to your questions. You'll hear from your rep. And if you stuck it out, you'll get your gift card as well. So thank you all for joining us. And we're just a little bit over time. So good night. Have a good rest of your week. Thank you for being here.
Thanks, everyone.